And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
We're going to flying weather for tomorrow morning. We've got a narrow band of IFR out here with a weakening front. Western Bering Sea down to about Adak, otherwise marginal VFR across the southern Bering Sea, northward to at least St. George Island, and then eastward here into the Alaska Peninsula, North Gulf Coast, Kodiak Island, right on up into south central Alaska, and much of the eastern interior areas. And then it cuts off right at the border. And then IFR spreading up here over the southern panhandle. For the afternoon, still some areas of marginal VFR here over the southeast interior of the state, down toward Kamishak Bay, Iliamna area there. Improving for Kodiak Island and VFR for Bristol Bay. Again, northern Bering Sea, north of the Pribilofs, we've got VFR right on up into the Arctic Ocean, North Slope Arctic Coast. IFR, northern panhandle. Out west, not too bad, just a lot of marginal VFR over areas of the southern Bering Sea and from about, Amchitka Island eastward to the False Pass area. And then for Saturday morning, no change out here over the Bering Sea or the Aleutians, north or south. Interior areas looking really good, still marginal VFR, areas of marginal VFR on the east side, down into the Gulf of Alaska, Kenai Peninsula, areas of marginal VFR, Kodiak Island, and some IFR building here along the eastern North Gulf Coast and over the northern panhandle, tending to shift west-northwestward. And we'll see in the afternoon, it does make a pretty good jump to the west here into possibly as far west as eastern Turnagain Arm. Definitely Prince William Sound there, and down to the east side of Kodiak Island, becoming VFR over the southeast coast, and stays VFR here elsewhere, or the northern Bering Sea, and the interior up to the Arctic coast. And for passes tomorrow, Anatuvik-Anatigan, VFR flying on either approach. Lake Clark and Merrow, mostly VFR conditions expected for the day on Friday. Mostly VFR for rainy as well, and windy, mostly VFR. And Isabel, VFR at least a portion of the day tomorrow, as well as Mentasta, Tanita, looking pretty good. And Portage Zone, marginal VFR, especially on the Whittier side. And for Chilkoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels, quite a gradient here across the panhandle with building upper level ridge here over western Canada, southerly flow or southwest flow. So we've got 2,000 to 8,000 feet there. Otherwise, at the surface, well south of the Alaska Peninsula and all the way out to the central Aleutians and kind of ridges northward a little bit there, but still no sign of 2,000 foot freezing levels out west. Icing with that weakening front, possibility of some isolated moderate rime icing, at least for a portion of the day tomorrow for the central Aleutian areas, but this area north of the Shimiatu area now. And another area, better chance here over the northern panhandle, considerable moderate rime icing pretty likely there as far west as possibly, well, at least to Yakutat. And looking at the jet stream, we've got a narrow trough here right through this area. Southwest flow 125 knots to the east of that trough, right up across the Gulf of Alaska and the southeast interior. North of the panhandle, the strongest jet core, north of the southeast coast. High pressure over the Russian Far East, northerly flow 65 knots, turning east, and then southeast at 60 to 70 knots over the western Bering Sea. 9,000 feet, light winds for the Aleutians, eastern Bering Sea, and maybe northerlies at about 30 knots for the western Arctic coast across the western Brooks Range there, Kivalina and those areas. Light winds over the interior and 65 knots southwest winds in across the northern panhandle. At 3,000 feet, we've got 50 knot southwest winds over the southeast coast. Light for the Gulf of Alaska, Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay. Light winds over the interior as well. And 35 to 40 knot southeast winds here for the central Aleutians into the southern Bering Sea, with the strongest winds either off to the northwest or way down to the south. And for turbulence, might see some isolated moderate turbulence here for Adak and Atka tomorrow, and moderate turbulence or considerable moderate turbulence for the northern southeast coast with those strong lower level winds there blowing in from the south and southwest.